What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to show you how to make an intro title inside DaVinci Resolve for your live streams. Let's get into it. Live streams are the type of video that is just completely different than anything else. If you have not done live streams before as a company or on your YouTube channel or whatever platform you're trying to do, you're missing out. Today I'm going to show you guys how to do a title that you can play at the beginning of your live stream as people are hopping on before you really want to get going. That's what I'm going to teach you guys how to do today inside DaVinci Resolve. Let's jump inside and we'll get going. So you guys can see this is what I created, just a really simple starting soon title animation that you can play at the beginning of your live streams. It's really not that complicated, but there are a few steps. So the first thing we're gonna do is move this fusion composition out of the way. We're gonna create a new one completely from scratch. So you're gonna go up here to Effects Library, you're gonna go to Toolbox, Effects, and you'll see Fusion Composition right here. You're gonna drag it and you're gonna drop it in your timeline. Now, whatever timeline you are creating this in, you need to keep that in mind. This is a 1080 timeline. Most of the time, if I'm streaming, it is only 1080, so I'm not super worried about it. But if you're gonna use this in future projects, you need to keep in mind the dimensions you're gonna go for. We're gonna do longer than 5 seconds. It automatically does 5 seconds. You could do this, you know, as long as you absolutely want. We're just gonna do 10 seconds. I think we'll be just about fine. So let me find 10 seconds is right here. We'll close that up. That looks good right there. And we're gonna hop inside Fusion. Once we're inside Fusion, there is only one thing I'm gonna use for this that I'm pulling in. In my media pool right here, I went on ahead and added just a background banner. You don't have to have this. If you have brand marketing and you would like to use that, I do recommend it, but you can use just a solid background color, which I'll show you here in a little bit. But the first thing we're gonna do is I'm gonna grab this, I'm gonna drop it in here, I'm gonna right click on it, and I am gonna go to rename, and we're gonna do this as background logo, hit enter. I am going to connect that to our media out right here so I can see everything that's going on, make that just a little bit bigger. Then what we need to do is add a blur to this. So I'm gonna hit Shift Spacebar and I am gonna look for a blur, and we're gonna look for the Gaussian blur right here. We're gonna add that. It's gonna connect it to it right here. Let me move this up so it's not bothering my OCD as much. You can see that it's starting to cut the image off. So what we're gonna do is making sure we're clicked on the Gaussian blur. We're gonna go over here to the inspector tools, and right here on border type, we're gonna change this to replicate so it gets rid of that black border that's there. You can mess with the blur radius and strength that you need here. I don't need nothing too crazy. I want it to be visible, but I don't want it to be taken away from what I'm gonna put on top of it. So that's fine sitting where it's at. You can toy with that if you would like. The next thing we need to do is we need to add a transform to this. So I'm gonna click on the background logo, I'm gonna hit Shift Spacebar, and we're gonna look for a transform. We're gonna add that. Move this up so we can see it. On the transform, I'm just gonna size this up to make it quite a bit bigger. I'm gonna bring it over here. I think that's pretty good. We can mess with all of these and how high we want it. But I actually think that looks fine where it's at. I'm gonna bring that over just so I'm coming in the corner right there. Now what we need to do is we need to add a merge to this. So I'm gonna click off of everything. You can hit Shift Spacebar again, or you can click right here and you can add a merge. So I'm gonna add a merge right here. I'm gonna hold Shift in the mouse, drop it in so it connects into that tree we have building right here. Now I want to have some kind of color coming into the side, so we're going to click a background color. I'm going to unclick off of merge. I'm going to click the background color and I'm going to connect it to it right here. You can see the size is a little bit off. It's not a big deal. We can fix that in just a minute. What I need to do is get a polygon stroke, so it's right here, or again, you can hit Shift Spacebar. I'm going to click that. Now it took it away because nothing's written on here. I'm actually gonna make this a little bit smaller so we can cut outside the frame and make it a little bit easier. You can change that right here by clicking fit or messing with the sizes right here. We're just gonna do 50% at the time. I'm gonna click on the polygon. I am going to start drawing what I think looks good. I'm just gonna do kind of an angle. I think that looks pretty good. I might extend that just a little bit because I know I'm gonna move it after a while. It still messed it up, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna click on the background and I am going to add a transform by either clicking here or shift spacebar. If I click on that transform, it adds it into the tree. Let me drag that up a little bit. I'm going to click on the transform and I am just going to size it up. So now it's covering the whole image right there. I'm going to click back on the polygon, and in here we can actually soften the edges if we would like, and we can actually mess with the border width, or you could scroll up and grab it and move it if you would like. But I think that looks fine. Let me actually bring that border width back out a little bit. I think that looks good right there. We can click on the background right here, and we can actually start messing with colors. If you hold the eyedropper, you can start picking colors you think. I think let's go with something like that. We can mess with the alpha if it's a little too much and you want to have the image cutting through the back. I think that looks pretty good. What I want to do is I want to have a gradient of colors. The easiest way I found to do this is highlight these, Command C on a Mac, Command V, and we are going to add another merge, shift the mouse at the same time, connect that there. And now we have a completely another one on top of it. And in here we can change the color maybe to something a little bit more purple. Let's do a little bit of a darker purple. And then we can click on the polygon and we can actually mess with the border width so it kind of has a gradient, and we'll soften the edge even more. And I think that looks pretty good right there. Now what we need to do is start adding our titles in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit a merge right here. I'm going to hit shift and the mouse at the same time, drag it in, make sure it snaps in there. And then I'm going to hit the text right here. Again, all these you can hit shift and spacebar to bring up what you need, but they're there, those shortcuts, for a reason. On the text right here, we're just going to do starting. Let me size that up quite a bit. I think that's good right there. I do want to have this on the side, so I am going to anchor it to the side that I want it to, and I'm going to move it over a little bit and kind of get it roughly in the spot that I want. I think that looks pretty good right there. I'm also going to need a transform in a little bit, so with the text still selected, I'm going to hit a transform right here, put that right there. We'll deal with that here in just a minute. I want another text completely separate, so again, we can just copy these if we would like. Command C, Command V, hold that up, shift at the same time, and you can slap that in your timeline right there. And we'll do starting, we'll do soon on this one. I need to bring it down. I think that's pretty good. We'll move it over just a little bit, and I might size it up just a little bit right there. I actually like to do the opposite and just have it be an outline. So on the fourth tab right here under the tools in the text, you can hit shading, and I'm just going to hit on appearance. I'm going to hit the outline, so it just is easier to read, in my opinion. It's just kind of a go-to thing I like to do. If you want to change anything, you can click back on like the background transform. You can size it up, move it around. Maybe the gradient of the color coming from the side is a little too much, so feel free to click on things and change things as you see fit. I just think that looks pretty good for this tutorial. If you wanted to, you could add another text right here with maybe your Twitter or Instagram or whatever you want to put there, maybe your profile picture, whatever you're wanting to put, you could also put that in there. I'm just going with just a simple basic starting soon, but feel free to add stuff if you would like to. Next thing we need to do is start keyframing everything. So I'm just going to click somewhere roughly in the middle. 115 is fine. You could do somewhere else. And again, you could have this text be as long as you would like. I'm just only doing 10 seconds because I really don't need it to be any longer than that. So we're just going to hit 115 right here. We're going to hit on the transform of the background, and I am going to add a keyframe on 115 on center. And then I'm going to go over to the beginning. I'm going to hit keyframe again, go to the end, keyframe again. So we've got 3 keyframes on center. I'm going to go back to the middle right here. I'm just going to click on the Y on the center where we added it. And I am just going to maybe lift me up a little bit. Not a whole lot, because 10 seconds isn't that long. We're going to play that through, and you can see there's a little bit of movement of me just going up. I only put 1 in the middle because by the time we get here, then it's going to start to drop back down to the beginning. So if you do this as a loopable video, later it will just, you know, keep looping. No one will ever see the cuts. It's not a big deal. Also, if you're using OBS or a lot of other live stream platforms, they normally have something where you can load in a video that's maybe only 10 seconds and it will automatically loop it for you. So I have it to where it's just going to be a loopable setup. It moves, but it's going back to the exact same thing at the end that it was at the beginning. So the next thing we need to do is we need to start messing with the colors. I'm going to click on the transform of the color background 1. I'm going to do the same thing, but maybe let's go to 125 just to change it a little bit. Let me find the right one. I don't want that. Command Z. I think that's what I want right there. So Command Z. I'm going to add a keyframe on 125 on the center. I'm going to do the same thing. Go to the beginning, or I mean the end, excuse me, and go back to the beginning. I'm going to add another keyframe. We're going to go back to 125 right here, and we're going to move this maybe over a little bit. Now let's bring it back a little bit so it's kind of fading in and fading out. Kind of play that through roughly. It's not going to be a dramatic difference, but it's movement, and that's all I want. And I think that looks fine. So now, still hovering over 125, because I know that's where I had the middle keyframe. I'm going to click on Transform for the second background color, and we are going to do the same thing. We're going to add a keyframe on center, go to the end, add a keyframe, go to the beginning, add a keyframe, go back to the center right here, and let's maybe do the opposite. Let's maybe bring it out a little bit. I think that looks cool. So now if we play that through, the color's kind of changing a little bit. It's getting a little more deep purple instead of, you know, that lighter purple. And if you really want to do something cool on the background, we're gonna click on the alpha. We're gonna add a keyframe on 125 right here. Go to the end, add another keyframe, go back to the beginning, add another keyframe, go back to the middle, and let's maybe turn the alpha down a little bit. So now it's kind of got this gradual light color is fading, and I actually think that looks really cool. Now we need to start messing with the text. So I'm going to go to 120 just so it's a little bit different than everything else. If you wanted to have the text, the background, the color, everything hitting the exact same, just remember where you're doing your keyframe. I'm just doing them on a little bit of a different. I think sometimes it just breaks up the monotonous of it. So I'm just going to make sure I'm on 120 right here. I'm going to click on the transform of text number 1. And we are going to add a keyframe on center. We're going to go to the end, add a keyframe, go to the beginning, add a keyframe. The only reason I'm doing the center first and I'm going ahead and adding keyframes at the beginning and the end is so I don't have to remember where exactly they were. It's already set where I need it to be, so I'm just going to add all 3 keyframes and then I'll fix the middle one. It's the easiest way to do it than to do a keyframe here, move this, and then try to fix this right here to match number 1. So being in the middle right here, let's move this, let's move it out a little bit, not a whole lot. Let me see. Yeah, I think that looks pretty good right there. We'll go right there, and then let's move over 1 keyframe right there. We're gonna go to the last text right here, the soon, and we're gonna add another keyframe on center right here. Same thing, end, and beginning. It's a lot of just monotonous doing the same thing, adding those keyframes, but it is the easiest thing to do. And then let's move you that way a little bit because I think you're going the opposite. Yeah, just so there's a little bit of movement. And if we wanted to, we could actually just click on the text itself and we could move it out a little bit so it's not so dramatic. I think that looks good. It's playing a little slow because it's trying to render everything, but I think that looks pretty good right there. The last thing we want to do is we just want to smooth everything out. So I'm going to go to the spline right here up at the top. I'm going to click the transform. I'm going to hit this little arrow, zoom the fit so I can see everything. I'm going to highlight it, and I'm going to hit this right here just to smooth it out. Unclick that. A really fast way to do it is just click every one of them, scroll down. If you really want to dial in everything and make sure your timing is correct, I would do them individually, but we're just going to smooth all of them out at the same time. That way it's not such a dramatic hit, and I actually think that looks pretty cool right there. Unclick off of spline, jump back into the editor, let it render out. Watch that through. If you like it, awesome. If you want to tweak some of the keyframes, it will be super easy to do because you've only got 3 keyframes every text or every background. And again, it's a very simple thing. If you wanted to make it longer, you can, but like I said, OBS normally, or any other streaming thing I've used, normally you can load in a 5 to 10 second clip and it's just gonna automatically loop it. So that's why I set it up so it's the same at the end and at the beginning. It looks the exact same. Well, there you go, guys. That's how you create an intro for your live streams. If you guys like this video, give me a thumbs up, drop a comment below if this helped you out. What's something else you want to see next? I would love to hear your thoughts. I'd love to have a conversation with you guys. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already with the bell notification on so you don't miss any of my new videos. You guys are amazing. I'm the Iron Giant. I'm out. Peace.